Oh my god, I'm so out of breath. I just ran to go get my notes. Hey loves, it's Belinda, Selene, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I want to share with you guys going through the process of IVF and just my experience in general. I am currently about to be 24 weeks pregnant, and we have wished for this miracle for such a long time. I know I've always wanted to be a mom, and my wish finally came true thanks to God, of course, my wonderful doctors, and modern medicine through IVF. So I want to share with you guys my story. This is my experience. I am not a professional. I am not a physician. This is just my story and the things that I went through, and I hope that this story can help someone out, someone who is going through it currently, or someone who is thinking about it, or if you're just curious in general and want to find out more about IVF, then I want to share my story with you guys, and hopefully this will give you guys some useful information, and also it'll help you out through your journey if you're going through the same thing, because I know it could be a place where you feel so alone and you feel like no one understands you and you're the only one going through it. So I asked you guys over on Instagram if you guys had questions for me. That will be a different video. I decided to put it in two different parts because otherwise I'm gonna sit here and ramble the whole time. So that will be part 2. So I do have my little timeline here, so if I'm looking down, it's because I'm trying to read my notes so that I stay on track with what I'm gonna say, because there's a lot to go into this story. I have a feeling it's going to be a long video. So let me start with a little bit of a background story. So Ricardo is my husband, and we have been together for 16 years. We're high school sweethearts, and we started dating when I was 14 and he was 15. And we're about to celebrate 6 years being married. And at the time when we started trying, I want to say 25 going into 26 years old, and he is a year older than me, and we really started trying consecutively every single month. And after 3.5 years of trying, obviously nothing happened. I never had a pregnancy scare. My menstrual cycle is very normal. It's kind of scary that I can actually plan out my dates and my life around my cycle because it's so on time. I've never had any problems in that area, and I want to say that around the 30 years when I started to get really frustrated because we weren't conceiving and I didn't understand why. So we did tell my OB or the gynecologist, and we tried to figure out what was going on. So I did start going through a lot of tests. It wasn't until I switched over to another gynecologist who really tried to give me as many tests as possible as to why I wasn't conceiving. So I felt for that 1 year, I did so many tests, everything that you can think of. And during that time, Ricardo and I tried everything that there is possibly to do to get pregnant on our own. If there was a method, if there was a myth, if there was a reason, if there was a dietary supplement, if there was anything at all, we tried it and nothing worked. That's when I spoke to my gynecologist and it wasn't working. She put me on Clomid for 3 months. That didn't work. Ricardo did get tested as well, because if it wasn't me, then I thought it was going to be him. But once he got tested, all his test results came back normal. It was not him who was having trouble, and so it was easy for us to rule that out and just focus on what I needed to do. There was only so much that my gynecologist could do, and I have a feeling that she knew why I wasn't conceiving, but I needed to talk to a specialist about it to find out exactly if that is a reason or not. So I think through all the tests that we were trying to do and find out the reason why I wasn't getting pregnant, I do wish that I would have seen a fertility specialist a lot sooner and not have waited for so long. To be honest, I was just in denial. I didn't understand how I was such a healthy person, and so was Ricardo, and how we were not conceiving if I didn't have any other problems and all my tests were coming back normal and regular. And because of that, I was in such denial that I was like, no, we are going to conceive naturally, like it's gonna happen. You know, not everybody gets pregnant you know, right away. Like, it takes up to a year, but 3 years in, I think was too much, and I do wish that I would have gone a lot sooner. But it was just me being stubborn in my mind, thinking that we didn't need help. And when I went in for that consultation, they talked to me about there were different tests that the gynecologist couldn't give you. And so I went in for another 2 months of a lot of blood work, a lot of different tests. I can't even remember all of them. Ricardo and I reached out to one of his family members who actually practices the exact same thing in Mexico. And he's also a doctor who does similar procedures. And so I also sent over all of my test results over to him just to get a second opinion and find out if what my doctor was telling me was accurate. Ricardo's very skeptical when it comes to doctors, and I totally understand. He realizes that sometimes we're just another patient who walks in, and sometimes doctors don't look at your information as accurately as you want them to. So you do have to be very thorough and communicate with your doctor really well if you want to get the results that you want. So we did reach out to that other doctor in Mexico, and he went over through everything, and he told me what his opinion was about the whole situation. So then when we sat down back with our doctor, the doctor went over all the test results with me, and he actually found out the reason why I wasn't conceiving, and that is because my AMH level was really low, a lot less than what the average woman my age would be, and I wasn't ovulating. So even though I was on Clomid or other things that my gynecologist prescribed to me, they were not working. So we had to roll that out. And it wasn't working because not only was I not ovulating, but my AMH level is really low, and that's not something that you can fix, because AMH is the amount of eggs that you have in your ovaries. You are born with that number. There is nothing in the world that can make you have more. Like, once you run out of your eggs, that's when you hit menopause. And unfortunately for me, that was going to be a lot sooner. And so my biological clock was ticking really, really fast. It scared me, and at that point I didn't know we were going to be able to have a baby, but it wasn't so low that I needed an egg donor. So the doctor just told me that I have at least 10 more years for me to conceive, and the doctor went over with me so many different other options of what we could do to conceive, and that conceiving on our own would probably take years if it was to happen, and it might not ever happen, and then it might have been too late because I didn't have any left. So it was really difficult to hear, but like I said, I was very relieved, just because I was like, okay, so what is the next step? What can we do? I talked to the doctor that was also in Mexico, and he gave me his advice. He told me what he thinks that I should do. He did offer for me to go over to Mexico and do it over there, but that would actually take so much time for me to actually be over there and then fly back once we were done with the procedure, which I think would have been way too long, and Ricardo couldn't take that time off. So once we got that second opinion, I went back to my doctor, and we just talked about every possibility of what we can do. After hearing all of his options and like what he recommended, I looked at my doctor straight in the face and I was like, I just want to know what is the absolute best possibility and outcome, and what is the best thing for me. I'm like, thank you for giving me, you know, like explaining thoroughly like all of the different options that there is to be able to conceive, because IVF is not the only step, but IVF is the last step before surrogacy, which is when you can't carry a baby and you need somebody else to carry it for you. So I was afraid that he was going to say IVF, to be honest, but I knew it. But I knew that that was it, because I did a lot of research. I've done so much research. My life was consumed of nothing but trying to find out how we can get pregnant for the past 5 years, that I knew a lot about IVF. And so I had a feeling that that's what he was going to tell me, but I was just telling him, like, please just be honest with me. And I really, really do appreciate our doctor so much, because he's so honest. Like, he tells you things without sugarcoating it, but he tells you in a way that's sensitive and understanding, but he is very direct and he'll tell you the facts, and that's something that I appreciate very, very much. And he was like, you know, if you were my daughter, he's like, if you were my niece, if you were my sister, he's like, I would tell you that your best chance of getting pregnant is through IVF. He's like, but I know that's really expensive and it is the most, I guess, kind of invasive procedure that you could do. He's like, but it works. It has the highest percentage of you getting pregnant with your situation. He's like, and even if you don't do IVF, I want you to freeze your eggs because, and if we try other procedures and they fail and it takes you a few years for you to get pregnant, your AMH level just keeps getting lower, and I want you to have eggs extra to be able to work with those eggs because you might not with these other procedures. And so he's like, I want you to freeze your eggs even if you don't do IVF. He's like, so I recommend freezing your eggs and trying procedures if you want. He's like, but I know for different reasons people pick different procedures of what the possibility can be. And so Ricardo and I talked about it, and we talked about all of our possibilities of what we can do. I've never felt closer to my husband, I will say that. I got to learn so much more about him. We had such deep conversations about what to do. IVF itself can be scary. I know I got a message on Instagram of someone telling me that they're thinking about starting it, but they're terrified. Don't be scared. It's not, I think the physical part of going through it is not scary. It's not painful, or it's not as painful. I think the majority of it is just the process of what it takes to get there mentally. And if you're mentally prepared to go through it, you're fine. Like, it's, and if you're financially able to go through it, then it should be okay. So I would just say that it's not scary, and it's something, if you could do it, and if it's recommended, do it. And I spoke to Ricardo, and then I spoke to the other doctor that was in Mexico, and he was like, yes, you should do it. That is your best bet. Looking at your test results, you know, that is a conclusion. Your best results and the highest possible chance of you conceiving is going to be if you go through IVF. So after going through all of that, I think I spent 10 minutes talking about that. We made our decision. We're like, okay, we're going to go through IVF. And I'm ready. I was like pumped. I was like, let's do this. Let's have a baby. Like, I am so ready. I was so positive and so excited to get started because I'm like thinking to myself, oh my goodness, if I start this month, like I could be pregnant within a month. Like, it is so crazy. I got my medication in the mail, and that was a little bit like, whew, okay, that's a lot of medication, but you don't take it all at once. You take certain things at certain times with a span of 4 weeks. And then we went to go see exactly how you have to take it. Like, I took a little class, and so they went ahead and they explained everything to me. They gave me a chart. I was really, really, really good, and I wrote everything down. I'll show you guys what that looks like, but I even have this little journal right here that talks about like me just being so excited to get started. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wanted this for so long, let's just do it. And oh, just looking at this makes me a little emotional. So I did not think that I would start getting emotional so early, but I was really excited, and I think that's the best positive attitude that you can have when you start going through this procedure, because even though they do inject you with a lot of hormones and you get emotional, it can be a little bit stressful. So I did start, and because I think I went in with such a positive attitude, I once again felt like I could focus on things other than just trying to get pregnant. And so I had a lot of commitments during that month. I had to travel, but that's okay. I took my medicine with me. I called my best friend and I was like, I'm so scared to start IVF because I have a life that I need to do. You know, like, I have to get back to things. Like, I have to take certain medications at a specific time. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? You know, like, how am I going to be at the airport going through with this medication And like, how am I gonna stop what I'm doing to go take my shot? She's like, we got this, girl. She's like, you get your medication. We're gonna go to the airport an hour early. We're gonna get you through security with your medication. We're gonna find a place to store it because some of it had to be cold. And she's like, get yourself, you know, go buy one of those little ice packs. She's like, get yourself a lunch bag, put your medication in there. We'll go to the hotel. We'll ask for a refrigerator in our room. She's like, we got this. She's like, and I'll show you how to do your shots because she works in the medical field. So I was like, okay, I love her so much. So I was like, okay, let's do this. I had a conference to go to and I had to speak and I had to interact with people. And I was like on this medication, which didn't do much to me physically, really. It was just the hormones, but I was totally fine, to be honest. I felt no different at all whatsoever. We even went out after I had taken a few shots to go shopping and walk around and shop, and we stayed out for a long time. So like that wasn't an issue, but I was nervous when I started. Like reality hit me once I got to the point where I needed to inject myself with needles, which I've never done before. I'm not scared of needles, and they're not painful, but it was very intimidating. And I think reality hit me when I sat there and I was like, oh my goodness, this is my life. Like, this is what I have to do to get pregnant. But you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
First, you're gonna need to mix this with this first.
And then have it ready,
and then you wipe, and then you're gonna give it to yourself. So then you'll get yourself prepared.
Pressure. Oh, that's not bad.
Your reaction was way better than I expected.
Okay. I don't want to think about it. Then I would have psyched myself out. Okay, so now we do the other one.
So it's on the pointy part.
My best friend is my assistant when I go on these trips. She's so good. She knows exactly what to capture and film. And so I took her along with me. Ricardo didn't go with me because he likes to save his vacation for when we actually go on vacation and it's not just work related. So he doesn't ask for too much time off. So he wasn't with me, but I did FaceTime him and I think I broke down and cried because he wasn't with me. But I did have my best friends there with me. So it was really, really nice. I had a lot of support. Alright, so today is May 8th and we are on day 7 of the shots. And I have been feeling discomfort with the days as they go on because obviously the follicles are increasing, they're getting bigger, and I just find so much discomfort whenever I go into the clinic and get my ultrasound because they're moving them around, measuring them, and it's a lot of discomfort. So this morning it was pretty bad, to the point where I really couldn't do much and nothing I did helped me, whether it was sitting down, laying down, or walking. So I went to go get a massage and I feel like that helped. And it was like a much needed, so that way I could just concentrate on other things and not have to worry so much about the discomfort of my follicles that are growing. So I am going to be taking another round of shots today, and they told me that next week might be my egg retrieval, which I'm really nervous about, but I'm just excited. I'm just really excited. So let's take them. Hey guys, so I wanted to give you guys an update after our embryo transfer, which was a few days ago. Today is Tuesday and we got it transferred on Saturday. And oh my goodness, I'm just, right now, I'm just really, really excited.
This is Lydia. Hey, congratulations.
Am I pregnant?
You are. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I want to scream.
Oh my god, thank you so much. Hey. I have news.
What's up?
I'm pregnant. So, unfortunately, that cycle ended up in a miscarriage. I was really early. I want to say I was 5.5 weeks with the miscarriage, and I documented everything, and to be honest, it is so difficult to look at that footage that I haven't looked at it since then, but just thinking about it and just like thinking about editing that or this part of the video is going to be so hard for me because I've never been so excited in my life because we got the news that we were pregnant. Ricardo and I were so happy, and then to find out a few days later that I lost the baby, and it was pretty traumatizing. I bled a lot. I had a lot of cramping, and it was very traumatizing. It was painful, and I think that was one of the hardest times in my entire life. There was no explanation for it. It just happens. It had nothing to do with it being through IVF. It just happens. I didn't tell anyone either, because when it comes to the way that I feel and the way that I am, I've noticed that even though I do share my life with you guys here on YouTube, I'm a very private person when it comes to specific situations or feelings, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I've noticed that I can't reach out to someone right away. I need to just gather my thoughts and my feelings and feel what I have to feel and mourn what I have to mourn. And then once I feel more comfortable about it, then I will talk about it. But I think eventually you have to talk about it. Or if it gets so bad that it takes you longer to recover from a situation, I feel like you have to talk about it. But I didn't tell anyone for a while. But after a week or so, I'm like, I can't do this to myself. I can't do this to my husband. I want a baby so bad, and me sitting here crying and being depressed is not going to help me mentally. I need to be mentally strong. But it took me a while to get there, and I think that's okay. Eventually, I did reach out to my sister. This was maybe like a month later, and she helped me out a lot. And I didn't tell anyone for a long time either. I eventually told my mom, but that was like way later, just because she worries so much, and she knows how hard we want to be, how hard it was for me to get to that point. And then for me, like, she hurt so much for other people, and I didn't want her to be sad for me. I don't like people feeling sad for me, which is so weird. But yeah, so after that, I spoke to my doctor, and we had to take a month break because the medication that I was on had to leave my system completely. I had to heal from the miscarriage. I also had to wait for it to start another cycle if I wanted to, and my doctor asked me if I wanted to start another cycle. We said yes, and we didn't want to give up. I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I didn't want to feel sad. I just wanted a baby so bad, and I was like, you know what, I'm ready. I want to start my family. I want to give my husband a child. I want to be a mom. And talking to my doctor, something that made me feel better is that he said, I'm really, really sorry that this happened to you. You know, it can happen to anyone. It's a lot more common than you think. And on the bright side, you can get pregnant. He's like, even though you did lose it, and I'm really sorry, he's like, you can get pregnant, and that's a really good thing, because that means that, you know, you have a higher chance of getting pregnant. Right when I was about to start my second cycle, I ordered my medication again because you have to start all over again. And right before I started taking my shots, I went in for my usual ultrasound and my blood work. And I had a really large follicle that was about to drop, which is my egg, and the clinician was like, Belinda, you have a really large follicle. I have to talk to the doctor because we cannot continue the process of making more follicles or extracting more eggs if you already have one. She's like, and this one looks like it's about to drop, so we have to monitor you to make sure that it's going to drop, and when it does, we might have to turn this into an IUI, which is a different procedure. It's not IVF. So after speaking to the doctor just said, we are going to have to transfer this procedure from IVF to IUI. Once we did that, we had to wait 2 weeks to find out if it worked, and it didn't. It failed. So even though I did ovulate on my own, it didn't work. And once that failed, I think that really hit me hard because I have been doing this for so long. I have been on medication, I have tried different procedures, and nothing was working. And then I started going into the third cycle, and I thought I was ready for that. Mentally, I wasn't. I was so upset over the first cycle that we had our miscarriage, the second cycle, which gave me really high hopes, and then not conceiving, and then going into this third time, it was really hard. And I built up so much anxiety from something to go wrong again. I wouldn't know how to control it because it would happen out of nowhere. I wasn't sad, I wasn't crying, I wasn't worried, but all the symptoms of anxiety hit me, and then it would make me worry and make me feel bad. So physically, anxiety took the best of me, and I think for that reason that third cycle failed. I needed to find a way to manage my anxiety to help me out because it was not healthy at all. And I couldn't control it at all. So I needed a way of an escape. And one thing that I noticed is that I had to stop making everything around me be about getting pregnant. Like I even though I wanted to focus on that, that's something that was really important to me, I just needed to live my life again. I just couldn't have my life revolve around being pregnant. That's all I thought about all the time. That's all I looked up. That's all the research I did. I tried doing every single little thing possible to help me. I had put so many things in the back burner to try and get pregnant for so many years that I just needed a break from that. And so we decided to go one last time to get pregnant this year through IVF. But that wasn't going to start until a month later. We jumped on the roster again, and we had another opportunity because our insurance covered it, and I didn't want to give up at all because I felt like I would have felt worse if I gave up. And so I focused on other things though. I didn't make that my top priority. So I focused back on my YouTube videos. I started journaling. I went to the gym and I worked out, which was great, with friends, and we went on one vacation, and I didn't let just the topic of pregnancy be on my mind 24/7. I deleted Facebook. I actually deleted Facebook a year ago just because I felt like it wasn't healthy for my mental being, and I just started diving into different projects. I started working with different brands that I've been wanting to work with, and I found a lot more happiness in my life, and I didn't let it just consume me. And so when I started on that third cycle of IVF, when I was in a better mindset, and I feel like I lived my life once again. I knew that I had to take certain shots at certain times. A lot of the times when I was going through that last cycle, I wouldn't go places because I couldn't get back in time to take my shots or my medication. And I didn't do that this time. We went on, I want to say 2 vacations or 2 different trips, and I brought my medication with me once again, and I took my medication wherever it needed to be. I know one time we had like a friend's birthday dinner, and we left right after we got done eating to go to the car to go take my medication, my shot. Ricardo gave me a shot. I would just take my medication with me and found ways to make it work with my lifestyle. I didn't stop living my life just to go through IVF. And I was in such a better place in my life mentally. I didn't have as much anxiety as I had before. And I think that's the reason why the 4th cycle worked. And these are tears of happiness because now I have a little baby in my stomach. And I'm so happy. And we also went on vacation, and I brought the medication with me, and Ricardo even gave me like my medication in the parking lot when we went to go pick up our car. Like as soon as we landed, we went to go pick up a rental car, and right there and then is when he gave me a shot. Good. And I also don't know if it has anything to do with this because I tried this before and I didn't end up getting pregnant, but I went back to eating a little bit healthier. And me focusing on like making good, delicious meals made me happy. So I think overall it just made me happy. I'm like, if there's any possible way that I can help this pregnancy out, I'm gonna do it. But I did it in a different way. Before, I felt like I was depriving myself of the things that I wanted to eat healthy, to make sure that I was able to, you know, have healthy eggs, even though my eggs are very healthy. And when I spoke to my doctor, he said that my diet had nothing to do with it because I've been doing good so far. And that wasn't a reason why I wasn't ovulating or conceiving. It was just that's, you know, it had to do with something else. But I started eating things that I really loved, but that were nutritionists. And nutritionists, yeah, right? That's a word. And I would still eat pizza if I wanted to. If I wanted Italian food, if I wanted Mexican food, I would eat it. But I would also make good choices. And I would make sure that I would take my prenatals and my vitamins. And I think focusing on making good food, going on vacation, seeing friends, not revolving my life around getting pregnant, but just living my life. I stopped doing so much research. I stopped looking up so many things. I just did a lot more for myself. And I do think that's why I got pregnant. Because on the fourth cycle or the 3rd cycle, because once we found out, we were so excited, but I was scared to get my hopes up because of what happened that first time. But I was still really optimistic. So every other day we went to go get blood work done. You know, then we had another ultrasound and another ultrasound and another ultrasound, and the baby kept growing, and every single time I was scared something bad would happen, but I'm like, no, I cannot let this happen. I cannot let myself get into that mentality. Ricardo helped me out so much, and I talked about it in a different video. And I'm here now. I'm 24 weeks. And I've seen my baby move so many times, and it's the best feeling in the world. I knew this video would be hard. That's why it took me so long to film it. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it. I would do it a million times. And I've been enjoying every single second of it. As hard as my symptoms were in the first trimester and into my second, I don't care. Like, I'm so happy. And I'll show you guys the bump. I'll show you guys our sweet little angel. Oh my god, I'm so happy, and I get to feel the baby move, and I get to feel the baby just like roll around in there, and I love it so much. I'm so happy. Ricardo and I are so happy. I couldn't have done this without him. He has been a tremendous amount of support, and I don't know how he like carries like my I feel like a burden sometimes because of the way that I feel or the way that I felt, and he just, I don't know how he deals with it so well. He knows exactly what to say, exactly what to do. He's so incredible. I got blessed with such an amazing husband. We have never been closer in our entire life. I don't think we've ever loved each other this much. He will do absolutely anything for me, and I'll do the same for him. And we have the most amazing relationship now, and going through all of this has brought us closer than ever. And he is my better half. I'm so happy. And if you're scared, if you're watching this, don't be, because it could end up with you having your family that you want. And I would say, if someone asked me if, yeah, sorry, this video got so emotional at the end. I don't like filming these kind of videos because, I don't know, I just don't like crying on camera, and I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. I don't want to do it for the wrong reasons, but I know that these are the videos that I was looking at when I was doing research, and I needed to find comfort in somebody else going through it too. And oh my god, I can't wait. The baby will get here soon, and I can't wait to hold my baby. Boy or girl, I don't care. I don't care. I'm so happy, and I can't wait to start our family. So, oh my god. Alright, so if I can get through another video without crying or without being so emotional, I'm gonna film the Q&A because I know you guys had a lot of questions. My lashes are about to fall off. Oh my goodness. One of the most common questions that I did have from you guys was, how much is IVF? And it is really expensive. I won't lie, like it's not cheap at all. We were very, very lucky to have the insurance that we did because it covered the majority of it. We only had to pay a few $1,000s. I know my clinic specifically charged $16,000 or $17,000. I want to say $16,000 to $17,000. And I remember seeing a lot of women or a lot of couples go in there and make their payments, and I was just like, bless their hearts, all they want is a family. And I don't understand why it has to be so difficult, so financially difficult. But I think it's priceless. I mean, I think it's just priceless on its own. I just wish that it was a lot more affordable for a lot more couples. I know it varies. Some clinics, I think, start at like $13,000 and it can go up to $20,000. Just depending, because you also have to get a lot of tests done before you start any treatment. So those in itself are expensive, and then the procedure of IVF is another expense, and then sometimes the medication is apart from that. My medication, some of it was not covered from the insurance, so we did pay out of pocket for some of that, and I have a lot of medication left over which I plan to donate to my clinic because they helped me out in time when I needed certain medication that wasn't delivered to me on time. So I definitely want to give back and help the clinic as well to give to other patients if they need it. But yeah, I will film another video answering all of your questions in part 2 of this. I hope that this was helpful for you guys, And yeah, I just want to leave on a positive note because I know I did a lot of crying, but it's a happy ending and it's a happy result. And if you're going through this, I feel you. I've been there. I am you. I've gone through it. I felt the pain, but there is hope. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Muchos besos. Mwah.
Come closer, dance for me. Easy, tiger, easy, let your hair down. Come closer, let me see all your million faces and all your million mistakes. You don't need to hide. Come closer so that we can